I love TikTok. Michael, I love TikTok because in some way you build connection that
Yeah.
otherwise wouldn't be possible. For instance, now me and you, I live in UK. I came from Italy. You're from Canada. You look Italian. You look under.
No, I get that a lot.
Okay.
I've got a mixed background. I immigrated to Canada when I was 9 years old. So 1995, I immigrated to Canada. Before then, it was somewhere in Holland for a bit. I lived in Spain
Really?
for a bit. I've lived in a lot of different places. I've worked in London, England. I love London, man. Once you said you're in London, I just took a trip back. And you're right. It's like TikTok, that is the beauty of it. That's why I fell in love with it. That's kind of why I actually don't have my username connected to my professional accounts or anything in that sense. It's like this beautiful sandbox of serendipity, of different things that I just don't see it anywhere else. And I've been working in marketing and planning the communication strategy and like things for different clients for a long time now. And I haven't seen a platform like this that just has that charm to it that other platforms don't. And I really love the connections. Like when I'm on TikTok, I want to be friends with all the people that I see their content because uh, it's so different and natural and inclusive and inviting. And the other day I was telling my friend, I'm like, it's so strange if I saw what people were like on TikTok on a daily basis, I think I would have my guard down in terms of the number of strangers I could become friends with. Because people are, it's also the fact that I think a lot of people don't have their identities on TikTok connected to other platforms. So there's a bit of anonymity, there's a bit of feeling of carefreeness, like your friends and your coworkers who see you in a certain light, and you got to be serious. You can be you on TikTok, and that's what I love about it. And sometimes have a hard time uh, putting myself in a different position to look at it as a medium to build my brand, because I see it as so much fun just being there and just observing what's there and creating things, not thinking about the outcome. So I love the fact that you reached out and you're
Yeah.
just talking to me, man.
But I think you're right. You are absolutely right. But you know what? I also think that building a personal brand in some way should show the audience like how you really are and how you are at work. So
Mhm.
that's why I personally think that if you are building a personal brand, you can play around.
Mhm.
For instance, if you have different passion, you can talk about different passion.
Mhm.
This is what I think. But I truly I can agree more that the environment that in some way the atmosphere that is in TikTok promote positivity, authenticity. You need to be yourself. Instead, other platform we know, for instance, Instagram is all aesthetic.
Mhm.
You do stories when you buy a car.
Instagram is the dream board where everybody builds their dreams and uses it for inspiration. Then you got Pinterest, which is a real dream board. And then
Exactly.
all these platforms have their thing, but I haven't seen anything like TikTok, and it's just beautiful.
I totally agree with you. What do you think about YouTube then? I mean, a lot of people they share their feelings on YouTube, but it's like I would say YouTube is more like how to. I
Yeah.
see as a search. Yeah,
Well, YouTube is, I think, still the world's second largest search engine after Google. And when we work with clients, when we're planning their strategies, we try to take the hub, hero, help approach. And it's a very bucketed way of producing content. And it's very much a good chunk of energy goes into helpful content.
mm,
A hub is the consistent pieces of content that's supposed to keep people in the loop when they're getting their notifications and weekly episodes. And then the hero content is more of the anthemic brand piece that's supposed to get people. So Google has really outlined it for us what kind of buckets those things fall into. And it's interesting now that they're trying out these YouTube shorts with this,
Yeah,
trying to enter that space. At the end of the day, it all goes back to all this content that they want people to produce is about how do we monetize it for them. So if they can create an environment that like copies TikTok in some capacity, they'll have more video inventory for advertisers to put in their ads. And so we don't have ads really right now in Reels per se, but the whole point of that beyond copying TikTok is to create an inventory for them to throw ads in there.
I agree. Have you seen? I personally yes, but have you seen an increase of ads on TikTok?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's related to the promotion button.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like people like me and you that, for instance, they run, I don't know in your case, but they run a side business, they promote it, and I've seen a huge amount of ads.
Yeah.
How do you see that? How do you see the fact that in some way they increase of ads? Obviously, we knew about it, but
Mm-hmm.
that this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? What are your thoughts about it?
On ads on TikTok.
Yeah, they increase radically.
I mean, at the end of the day, like all of these companies are creating a platform for advertisers to sustain it. Otherwise, they would have been
So,
free for too long. What I think of it personally, I think it takes away the magic uh,
mm,
that makes TikTok enjoyable. But whenever companies like this scale, the advertising, ironically, is what needs to support it to maintain its growth, and at the same time puts a little hinder on it. But I'd say when I look at the brand playbooks that TikTok and other companies give us, TikTok really tries to hit home that we're not making ads on TikTok, we're making TikTok.
it's true. It's
So
true.
don't make ads
Mm,
and make TikTok videos. And you see that in the language that's used in some of the ads, and like they're horrible in terms of
yeah,
the
it's
way
true.
that they're trying to copy the language of TikTok, like show me without showing. And it's just like, dude, that was like 5 months ago. Like, and now you want to, like the car brand is trying to do that, right? But when you go on to other platforms, Instagram and Facebook, etc., their playbooks, the only thing that they really tell you is like, get attention in the first 5 seconds. Get
Mm.
attention in the first. They don't really teach you how to speak the language of the platform, and that makes the ads on other platforms look even more like garbage.
Have you seen like a brand that is really do a great job on TikTok? That you said, you know what, this brand in some way is doing a great job.
The brand that I think, well, at the beginning when I started to venture into TikTok,
Yeah.
not not paid wise, I think Chipotle was at the top.
Hmm.
Washington Post was at the top.
Hmm.
There were a couple of nonprofits that were at the top in terms of the way that they do it, but it's usually those quirky brands that have that license to be
Mm.
able to be uh, free and expressive, and it goes back into the brand archetypes. Not a lot of brands are comfortable with TikTok,
I agree.
and when they try to enter the space, because TikTok is like an art studio, uh, not a lot of them have the brand archetype for the CMOs to feel like it's okay for them to enter that space. So there is a bit of a learning curve as it reaches a bigger audience and more mature audience, and the content keeps on expanding. But Chipotle comes to the top of the list.
For my opinion, Ryanair. I don't know you spell it.
Pioneer, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you know why? You know why I think is doing a great job for two reasons. Reason number one, for my personal opinion, they are surfing the trends. So they try to jump on trend. But if you think about it, they have a strange tone because it's a higher line. Okay, it's cheap, but you see them like professional. Now you imagine them. Instead, no, they have a different communication on social media. And I also did notice how they respond, how they reply to comments. It's
Mm,
crazy. Like a teenager is replying like somebody. There is this video that went super viral. You know, the Adult Swim that is very popular trend right now.
yep.
So somebody replied to, like, left a comment saying, I can't remember specifically. They basically wrote the name of the company wrong, and they reply, you don't know, you don't know, like tipo, you don't even know how to write our name. Jeez.
Oh,
They are funny, you know.
yeah.
They in some way see the platform and
Mm,
try to market that platform because they know this is a young audience, so they
yeah,
have to talk differently, and this is amazing.
yeah, yeah.
This
I
is for
I love when brands can use that tone to talk to
exactly,
people like humans. I think Wendy is another brand that tends to do that, use
yeah.
very humorous kind of way, more so on Twitter. I remember I was working on a luxury automotive brand, and Drake had created a video with our car in it. And,
Wow.
and literally, it took 3 or 4 days for everybody to have meetings. What do we respond? What do we say? It's strange, like, and I was like, just reply, just say
Yeah,
something, anything.
yeah,
But you're caught up in their head. So when you're talking about Ryanair being able to engage and talk and be cheeky about it, I
yeah.
love those brands, and I think it requires a certain mindset.
I agree, but what was the brand? It was Cadillac,
Yeah,
because I've done my research, and
come
even like
on, Daniel. I didn't want to say anything. I hope that doesn't get me into trouble. But yeah.
I think I think we can cut it, no worries. But before like going in this road in this topic, can you? I have done my homework. I know who you are and about your that you are brand strategist. But can you give me a little bit of a background? If like you have a degree, because one of my personally like what I personally think right now that right now at the moment you don't need to have like a degree and stuff to work in marketing, especially for my opinion, obviously social media. If you do the right course, if you study, you don't need like a specific degree. This is my opinion. But what do you think? Can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you started, why you choose like like marketing, if you can?
To go back to your point, you're right. Like, I don't think you need a degree anymore to be in marketing. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing.
Exactly.
My background, I studied art direction and copywriting in advertising at a university 4-year program, and came out and took a long time to get into the industry. But
Hmm.
eventually I changed my path to focus on the strategy because I fell in love more with the strategy than producing the content and pieces. I found that there are people who were much more creative than me, but what I was good at was getting into the insights and the communications plans and being able to create a blueprint for very complicated campaigns. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow, interesting. And do you have your own company, Michael?
I work for an ad agency and I do have my consulting company on the side.
Okay. And have you had the chance to work with brands in some way? They are planning to invest on TikTok, or it's too soon right now?
A lot of the brands I work with, they tend to want to be on Instagram and Facebook because of the media efficiencies that they're familiar and comfortable with. Because TikTok to them is foreign, you have to remember a lot of the stakeholders or the owners of companies or the CMOs of whatever. Uh, it's actually not that common for these folks to want to take risks. And I think it goes back into the environment that Facebook has created, has turned
Mm,
into borderline a risk-free environment for media investment. So content is one thing. They don't mind putting in content or whatever it is, but it's been a long learning curve to show them that their investment, A, gets exposure to people who have higher household income,
sure.
and B, that they're a more mature audience so that they can be able to, at the end of the day, capitalize on it. And the other part I would say is it's also a market to market situation. When you deal
Yes.
with a market like Canada, we're a smaller population. We're the size of California. We have a huge landmass. We're the size of California. So when we're dealing with marketing budgets, clients are extra particular about how am I going to get the ROI. It's all about the
Sure.
ROI. When you get to the US, there's, it's much bigger and the population reflects it. Similar terms, I would say, in UK. So I've worked with clients in the UK, US, and I would say UK and the US, the clients tend to take more risks because there is more money to go around and play with. And that does play a factor in it.
Sure. Interesting though. Uh, have you had the chance to work with an influencer or content creator?
Yeah, yeah. I've worked with a lot of influencers and content creators in the past, and I think what I love about collaborating with them is that they're artists in a sense. They're they're artists that they're artists who are capitalists to some extent, right? And creative capitalists are the really fun to work with because they want to monetize on what they're producing, but they also have that flexibility to express themselves. And sometimes when you're hitting a wall with a brand, the artist can create an expression, a painting, a voice, or something that gives life to the brand. And I'd say, you know, TikTok
Hmm.
influencers. I'm looking forward to working with. I'm working on one brand in particular that I can potentially collaborate with TikTok influencers, but the bulk, I would say 80 to 90% of influencers I've worked with so far, Instagram.
Instagram, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the procedure. Do you, for instance, Michael, do you research them, or for instance, when you're scrolling the page, for instance, I don't know, you might scroll the TikTok feed and you might find somebody interesting and say, you know what, let me check his Instagram or her Instagram, and then you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
so there's two ways to go about it. I think I do both. Like the
Okay.
exactly the way you're saying. When I come across talent, I have a folder, an Excel sheet that I've
Wow.
created, people that have really impressed me or people I'd like to work with, but I don't even have a brand that is on my radar right now that I'm working on. And I create that bank of people that I find fascinating. And then when there are clients that are not within my wheelhouse and I'm just got to find somebody, for example, a jewelry brand, you can go and use specific tools to find these. Like, there's so many tools to find influencers that are part of an affiliate program and they tag the types of industries they produce content in. And then you go and manually look at them, or you could use a software. I prefer to still look at them manually because
Mhm.
the software, you're familiar with it. There's so much crap in the software that you can't really trust the authenticity scores, right?
Yeah, about the analytics, you can't trust. Yes, I've
Exactly.
seen. Thanks to you, Michael, I had the chance to see the documentary.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
yeah,
um, amazing, amazing. I didn't know about a lot of stuff. I knew about bots, or how you call it, yeah, but I didn't know like that. I assumed that Instagram was fake, but I didn't know that Facebook, Instagram, they want like these bots to run, so they run the platform, they increase the traffic. I didn't know. Anyway, it's fun to know. I mean, it's
it's
interesting to
fun
know.
to know. The more you know, the more complicated things get. And I think what I like about TikTok is goes back into that the way that their algorithm is able to push content in different directions and really bring good content. If it resonates with people, it shows it through. And that's what I love about it, much more so than other platforms. It's kind of like been beautiful to watch so many musicians get their day, because so many of them had just had to been shut down because they didn't have the right marketing people. You
Exactly.
know,
But you that you that you are working with a lot of brands now, and they are also, like you said, they are investing in an influencer or content creator. If you have any suggestion, do you suggest, like, as a content creator, to reach out them or wait to brand reach content creator?
that's a
I
good
know.
question.
For instance,
As
yeah.
as someone from the content creator side, I would say, you could take a look at brands that you find have an alignment with your values
Okay.
and
Yeah.
make a list of them. And we get them all the time when we're controlling the accounts for different brands. Like, we get DMs nonstop. Collaborate with me, collaborate with me. But a
Exactly.
lot of them are just like BS. It's almost like someone just did mass email. But if you take the time to say where there's brand alignment, there's been more than one occasion where in the mountain of direct messages that have come in, we've actually read them. But then the ones
Mhm.
that actually say, hey, I have a community of, for example, outdoor, adventure seekers, and I make this series on YouTube and I make it whatever. I'd love for you guys to consider a partnership or a collaboration at some point. And then we take that and then we think about it, and then we work with the client to see if there is a potential opportunity, and then take that elsewhere. But then when you're, a very established content creator, then
Mhm.
the brand is reaching out to you. I think the one watch out I have for content creators is, we're watching the number of collaborations you're doing, and if the frequency of the collaborations is too,
Wow.
we're not going to even step in that territory, because the biggest uh, detraction from working with you is, like, we want exclusivity. Like, you're building your brand equity as a content creator, and you're like, I'm going to be the inspirational person, and I'm going to be providing value and helping people grow, right?
Okay.
And
Yes.
we're watching that, we're watching that, we're watching that. And then you start collaborating with Audible, right? We're like, okay, cool, Audible. Then tomorrow you're collaborating with, like, a week later you're collaborating with, say, Amazon. Then a week later you're collaborating with, and then we're like, oh, okay, so this person is just now really cashing out on their brand equity. And I think that's the part where I see so often happen with content creators who get successful overnight or really rapidly. They
Mhm.
want to capitalize on monetization, but then they really sell themselves out, because then they become interchangeable, the brands in their lives.
Wow, this is great advice. Yeah, but
Who do
I
you
think,
want to collaborate with? I'm curious. Who do you want to collaborate with? What
mm,
brand?
to be honest, I don't know, but let me explain why. I'm trying, like, I I got 50,000 followers, okay, 50,000 now, but I wanna do, like, exactly. I'm not sure what, I mean, my target will be to build up my personal brand, but I'm following, like, my strategy right now. But if I have to do a collaboration, if I have to collab, I will do a collaboration with a brand that in some way is relevant with my audience. For instance, actually, I reach out to a brand called Captions, the app. You know, the app is recent. I sent an email like, why don't you why don't you, like, collab with my podcast, because my podcast is about content creator. And they asked me, like, a couple of videos where I was using their episode title. I sent to them, nothing, nothing.
Mm.
So this is an example of I think the specific brand there in some way are relevant, and they might help you, even you, Michael, that you might say, wow, that's cool. I didn't know about this app. So for me, it's useful and makes sense. But I'm not at that point that in some way I have all this collaboration. But I think you're right. Um, Everything is, especially with TikTok, happens so fast. You go viral, and obviously you want to monetize it
Mhm.
because you want to leave your full-time job. I think what I think. You want to leave your part-time job. You want to do everything full-time. So that's why I think. But what I think I would suggest maybe is to build your personal brand, like with merch. I think it will be a different path.
Mhm. Mhm. I've seen a lot of content creators in Canada, for example. We didn't have access to the creator fund the way that the
Exactly.
US had. So a lot of them had to figure out ways to monetize on their growth. They would have like hundreds and thousands of followers, but they wouldn't be eligible for the creator fund. And I noticed that a lot of them produced merchandise, just like you're saying, and they would use Shopify, create a drop shipping very simply and on demand print, and they were able to at least build a bit of
Exactly.
um, money from their followers and fans.
When you are watching like content creator or influencer, do you watch the numbers they have, like the followers they have, or you are going more deep down and you check, for instance, comment, which kind of comment they receive, how many likes they have a video, how what is like a static for you that in some way make you think this content creator is the right one for this reason. Tack, tack, tack.
So there are a couple of things, and I think it depends on the platform you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on Instagram, I rarely look at the comments because there's so much bot crap on the comments.
Exactly.
Um, but I try to look at the on both platforms, on TikTok particularly. I look at how the creators are talking to their audience,
Mm.
and is it just a template response that they're blasting, or are they taking the time to, like, when you're replying to people, I see that you're reading what they wrote and you're replying in an authentic way. So that tells me you're investing time into the engagement. And
Exactly.
across any platform, the engagement rate is important to take a look at, and how much the content creators are engaging with their community. Because you can have a large following, but if you're
Mm.
just, pumping out stuff, well, I could just use the money and use the reach, objective on TikTok or Facebook and just reach as many people as I can.
Exactly. Yeah. So because sometimes you can you can in some way uh, like I don't know how to say, but get distracted by the numbers, the followers. But sometimes like the small account, they're really niche down,
Mhm.
and when they say something, even if they have like 1,000 followers, but when they say something, they're really big hurt. So this is kind of
And there's like, you have to differentiate between your objective as a brand that wants to collaborate. So if your brand objective is engagement, that is going to play a huge role in terms of how you assess it. But if it's purely about reach, sometimes we'll work with, macro influencers or mega
yeah.
influencers.
Uh-huh.
Brands do that, not because Beyonce is going to be talking and commenting back, but because she has sheer reach and she's going to be able to produce that frequency. Because the brands, the way that they grow is through two things. So brands grow through mental availability and physical availability,
Wow.
distribution. The mental availability operates on distinct brands that are reinforced through frequency and reach. So if
Wow.
I'm a salesman that shows up in front of your door every day, no
Yeah.
matter how annoying these door to door salesmen can be, they don't even have door to door salesmen anymore.
Yeah.
But somebody knocks on your door, you open, you're like, I don't want the knives. They come back 2 days later. Hey, do you want the knives? I don't want the knives. You know, come the 100th day, you're just gonna be like, oh, where's the knife guy? Like, oh, he's knocking on my door. Hey, how you doing? You know? And that's part of the science behind the frequency of exposure and repetition, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And so if they just want to purely reinforce the reach, yeah, the engagement doesn't matter as much.
Wow. So that's why posting a lot, um, posting doing like posting like consistently in some way, you like you said, people in some way they recognize you more.
Hmm.
So okay, I've seen the TikTok a couple of days ago. Then you kept seeing it.
Yeah, like I started with seeing you as that guy, right? And I'm like, oh, it's that guy. It's that guy. And I'm like, I wonder what his voice sounds like. And then, 30 days later, I start hearing your voice. I'm like, he's got a voice.
Oh my gosh! But you know what is funny, Michael? That every one of us, as a content creator, we have different paths.
Hmm.
Some of us easy path, two videos going viral, million followers. Some of them they have to grind. They have
Hmm.
to understand why they're not performing, why keep going. But talking about your, um, you started to do content, all right, and the content that you are producing are very deep down on strategy. Most like some of them,
Hmm.
like wow, good job. Because I believe it's gonna take a lot of time because if you're working like and producing content, and but when, for instance, you don't receive the view that you are expecting,
Hmm.
do you get upset, or do you think I send my message? If anyone will listen, it's fine. Otherwise, I don't care.
Um, so yeah, like the content that I produce is very niche, and I understand that a lot of people don't have the marketing knowledge to appreciate what the strategy is, but the chief marketing officer at X, Y, and Z uses their personal account to see it. So mine is a
Exactly.
bit strange in that scenario, and I'm trying to make it more open and more accessible, because I want the small startups and businesses to have these little bits of knowledge that these big brands pay a ton of money for me to talk in a boardroom to them about the art and science of marketing. I think the challenge I have with, obviously, I'm human. If I don't see the traction, I'm like, well, what if you know, what if I'm not getting traction? Is like people don't like what I say, and then I'm like, wait, no, like people are paying big bucks to hear what I have to say. So there's a disconnect between, where and what the general public can appreciate and understand. If I tell people the stories, I'm gonna get more views. If I tell people the craft, it's gonna be a much more smaller audience. The
Mm.
only thing that I delete every once in a while is this kind of pact that I created with myself. Is like, marketing has a lot to do with psychology, and advertising has a lot to do with the art and science of that. So when I put out content that might make people more skeptical and fearful of marketers, like, oh my God, you guys are trying to manipulate. If I produce content that either gets in a negative tone and I'm in a
Yeah.
negative space and I produce it, but I'm just producing content because I want to put it out there, and then I look at it like maybe an hour later or a day later, I'm like, you know what? That doesn't resonate with the value I'm trying to give. I'm trying to give light to the world. And if I'm going to feed into the negativity or whatever, that was on me, because that day I wasn't in the right headspace. And I don't want that video to be out there because it's not creating a positive uh, feeling for people. I don't want people to get more skeptical about how much psychology actually goes into advertising and brands. And I want people to use the knowledge to do positive things. So that's the only reason I would take down videos.
Okay. So, which are the platforms that were producing more video on TikTok or Instagram?
It's definitely Instagram and LinkedIn and email marketing with the email database that I have. Uh,
Wow.
I get clients through LinkedIn. I get clients through email marketing, occasionally Instagram because there's a lot of small business to mid-sized businesses and enterprises start there. Um, but you're building. You've kind of built me the case to pursue TikTok and grind at it and just be myself. And that's what I love about it. Like that's where I spent the energy, and it's almost like a funnel of where the energy is going. But in time, that's going to flip around as
Sure.
the platform matures, but also as
Yeah,
people get more comfortable with being imperfect,
I
which I
agree.
which I think that's the biggest challenge is like getting used to being imperfect. Being in the corporate world and making plans for all these clients night and day on their communication strategy, like there's so much detail that we put into things. And I went from making like one video was taking me, and I'm a private person, so that's been the tougher road. One video used to take me 3 hours to make. And
Wow.
one 30-second video, because
Me too,
that
private.
was the level of standard our clients would hold us to. They would be like, what about this? What about that? And all
Wow.
of that through 7, 8 years of working in the ad industry is in the back of your head. I can make it better. But I think TikTok has really opened a lot of people's eyes, and it's Gen Z particularly has kind of opened people's eyes to it's okay to be imperfect. Let's embrace the imperfection.
I totally agree. I totally agree. But you know what I think, Michael? That is, it's hard in some way to show your insecurities. Uh, I, I, I mean, I can talk personally. It's very hard to, in some way, express yourself with a word because your friend might seen it. People that are close to you, people that they want you weak, also people that they want you weak.
Yeah.
So I think is the direction that we are going, where we are shining. But I don't feel right. But for instance, as you can see from Will Smith, where he shared a couple of, I think a month ago, he shared his body. It was overweight. It's like they can do it, but I don't know. Maybe we can do too, but you have to be strong, very strong, as a
Hmm.
as a mentally, and yeah, this is what I think.
It's great. I think I agree with you that you have to be mentally strong to embrace the imperfection. I don't think I'm fully there yet
Me
on
too.
a personal note, because yeah, I you know I can tell you on a personal note, I'm a post-traumatic stress PTSD survivor. I've had childhood trauma, and these things, the second that anybody in my family, people professionally, hear me talk about it, then it's a rabbit hole of, how much am I okay to tell you what things I've
Mm.
gone through, the obstacles I've gone through, to be comfortable with that. Because there are, as much as I'd like to stay positive about it, there are sometimes liabilities that come with people knowing your personal problems, and people are human. So sometimes your vulnerability can be used against you.
Exactly.
But I think I'm trying really hard to pursue the path of like Brene Brown and trying to be vulnerable with the things that you say and to let that lead you. Uh, it's tough. It's tough. It's an ongoing thing.
But I agree with you, Michael. I mean, that's why I think there are two way of thinking. This is what I personally think. The thinking number one, like you said, you share your insecurity, but then you are vulnerable to others. and which is one. Or the second one is where you share your insecurities, but for instance, okay, one of my first insecurities on TikTok was my accent.
Mm,
I love American accent. I could like obviously I'm in UK for 4 years. I could like learn better, but I say I will always say, you know what, my accent is not perfect. People that they hear that is different, and then I cannot relate to them. I can
mhm,
like so this was my fear, but then I thought, you know what, one day I will do a video to me talking about this struggle, and
mm,
I'm sure that this problem about my accent will go away.
mhm,
Because why? My audience will know that I have this insecurity. They accept it if they want to follow me. I don't think that they know that I'm not that I'm Italian. You know,
mhm.
maybe probably there might be some people that will say, you know, your accent shit, but cases, you know what I mean. But I think when you share your insecurity, you are more human, and you are also you feel like they can like punch in that button. You know, you already press that button. You are fine. They know about it. This is
Yeah,
what I think.
I think that that's a great point. Like that goes back into a lot of stuff with even marketing and a playbook is a classic playbook is pointing out your own flaws before other people do, so that you can just get on with it. Um,
Beautiful.
I think that you're spot on about that.
Do you
Um,
think they can brand can do that?
well,
Is
they've
that
done it. I think
they,
Volkswagen in the early 1960s was a perfect example of it. uh, Volkswagen started the creative revolution in the advertising industry because yeah, so they had a car that was essentially a lemon. The Volkswagen Beetle was a crappy car, and they knew that there was like there's some it's little, it's tiny, and like nobody's really gonna buy into the market. So Dolda and Bernbach, when he set up shop in New York, he got the account and he started to create these ads where the ad was like lemon, and that's a famous ad. And he started to talk about the self-deprecation of the car, like it doesn't go this fast, but like look what it can do. Or like this one came with a flat tire, but you know, guess what? The air conditioning doesn't break down because it's just using electric whatever thing it was,
sure?
the motor, not electric, but the motor. Volkswagen was a great example that started that thing. But on a human level, I think where I would be okay with being vulnerable is TikTok, ironically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the platform in some way that you can express yourself and you can be vulnerable. Yeah, uh, it's like a place. It's like I will say like TikTok is a room where everybody goes. They sit down. They are very friendly. They want to talk with everyone. If there is a problem, they just share it. I see that like
Yeah.
paradise. Maybe it's paradise.
Hey, the way you think it, whatever you think, is the way that reality is. So you'll find the evidence to validate it. And I think if we focus on thinking about it as a positive place, the more people that treat it and think about it as a positive place, and we come to the day where we say, this is a positive place to be, well, it's going to reinforce that.
Sure. Which advice would you give to a young content creator which is in the process of starting to make content or is insecure of starting because he has so many doubts that he doesn't know or she doesn't know? Do you have any advice?
They, it's the advice that I'm learning along the way. Also, watching your growth is be okay with the imperfections. Be okay with uh, you know having flaws in terms of the the way that you create the content. Don't give a shit about what people think. I mean, that's really what holds us back a lot is
Mm,
think too much about what people think, and we're over analyzing it. I know we talked a lot about analyzing the metrics. I think that really puts pressure on, well, I should just let it go. You know, I think 10 years ago, I was making YouTube videos, and no friends, family, coworkers could understand why I was putting the time against it. And I stopped making those videos. And I wonder, like, what could have happened, right? But I couldn't explain it. But people were judgmental about it. And I listened to that instead of just listening to my own curiosity. The other part is following your curiosity. And then the other part is the persistence and consistency. You talk about consistency a lot. I'm trying to remind myself of that consistency, and just increase the volume.
I think you have amazing knowledge, and it's worth to share it. You should definitely share your knowledge. Um,
Yeah.
so after what you like, after so right now about your career and what would you like to happen next in your career, into personal life, or as a content creator?
I want to, you know, keep on making more of these meaningful connections that you and I are making, and using my platform to tell better stories, to inform these businesses that are struggling, especially looking at the pandemic, how many businesses got wiped out. If they had those little pieces of knowledge about how to go about using marketing to actually stay in business.
Hmm.
And the third part is potentially someday creating a business of my own and documenting the process of growing it through the marketing that I could do on that business itself and being part owner of it. And keep on producing more content, increase the volume. That's my hope. Just get to the place where I'm not analyzing the way that we were talking about earlier.
Sure. Thank you so much. Can a reminder, like my listeners, how they can reach you on social media, and also about your company as a brand director.
Yeah, you can reach me at the Michael Ash on different social channels, and you can go to my website to learn more about the stuff that I do and the company that I work at as a strategy director. And you could just visit themichaelash.com.
Beautiful. I had the chance to see one of your case study with the kitchen machine, the mini one. It was great marketing strategy. I really like it, enjoy it. Good job.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you
enjoying
so
the
much.
content. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Take it easy. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.